Hi everybody. In this session, we are going to discuss contemporary approaches to the selection of applicants within health professions and measures for the assessment of competence. Let's start by looking at contemporary approaches to the selection of applicants within health professions. The basic rationale of any approach to the selection of applicants is a process to identify the ideal applicants for the available places on a course or training program or available jobs. In designing the application process, decisions need to be made about the selection criteria. These might be cognitive criteria such as knowledge and its application, as well as non-cognitive criteria such as empathy, honesty, and integrity. Within undergraduate programs for health professions, this raises an important point about the purpose. Are we recruiting applicants who are likely to be successful students on the course? Or are we recruiting applicants who will be competent clinicians? As students have to complete the course successfully to be registered as health professionals, can we have one without the other? Are the skills set for each category mutually exclusive, or do they overlap? Is the overlap full or partial? What is your view on this? Selection into health professional courses in the UK involves one or more of the following. Previous academic achievements such as GCSEs, A-levels or degrees. These are relevant to all professions. Traditional interviews, personal statements and letters of recommendation. The UK Clinical Aptitude Test or UK-CAT, used for entry to medical schools in the UK. Situational Judgment Tests or SJTs, used for example for entry to the UK Foundation Programme following graduation from medical school. Multiple mini-interviews, which are now widely used and relevant to all professions. MMIs have replaced traditional interviews for entry to many UK medical schools. Overseas candidates need to undertake an English language test, and overseas doctors wishing to undertake clinical practice or specialty training in the UK have to take the English language test as well as the Professional and Linguistic Assessments Board test to demonstrate clinical knowledge and competence. Do you know of any other measures used for selection to health professional courses or training? So, is there robust evidence underpinning the use of these selection criteria? Past academic scores are good indicators of future academic scores, but not success in overall performance beyond cognitive capabilities. The UK-CAT has a modest but statistically significant ability to predict aspects of academic performance throughout medical school in the UK. MMIs have a relatively high reliability and predictive validity, but use locally derived marking criteria. Data supporting their validity is therefore often context-specific. Evidence is emerging for the reliability and predictive validity of SJTs within competency-based selection systems. There is very little evidence for the reliability and predictive validity of traditional interviews, personal statements, curriculum vitae, and letters of recommendation. In practice, most selection processes use a combination of measures to increase the validity and reliability of the selection process. Other factors that need to be evaluated are their costs and value, practicality, administrative convenience, legality, fairness, analytic expertise required, and mechanisms for generating feedback. Most medical schools use a combination of criteria within their selection processes. At Norwich Medical School, for example, criteria such as academic grades and the UK-CAT score are used to rank applicants, with the higher ranked individuals then being offered interviews in the MMI format. The results of the interviews are then used to offer the available places to successful individuals. Within the UK Foundation Programme, a combination of SJTs and Educational Performance Measure deciles conferred by the medical school are used to rank candidates, with the top-ranked candidates being offered their choice of location and rotations, that is, a combination of specialty placements. So far, we have looked at selection processes for entry to health professional courses. Once the students achieve the curricular learning outcomes and requirements, they graduate as health professionals. So, how is competence of health professionals assessed? The commonest models of training used are time-based training and competence-based training. Time-based training is based on completion of a required duration of study, but there is no comprehensive assessment of competence at the end of it. This model relies on the necessary competence having developed over the specified period of time. Competence-based training, on the other hand, is based on attainment of a specified competence framework over a variable duration of study. It includes a comprehensive assessment of competence, but a variable duration of study for each trainee could cause logistic difficulties for workforce planning. In practice, a combination of both models is currently used, where a training program specifies a certain minimum duration of training for achieving the required competencies, with flexibility to extend the duration of training for set periods of time to achieve defined competencies where necessary. By now, you should be familiar with Miller's pyramid in relation to assessment. Whereas the knows, how, and shows level are used for testing knowledge and its application, as well as demonstrating skills in a controlled, safe environment, the topmost tier, does, is best assessed through workplace-based assessment of performance integrated into practice. Workplace-based assessments are a core component of postgraduate medical training, although some of these are now used by other health professions as well as in medical schools to prepare students for professional practice when they graduate. Whereas OSCEs assess potential to practice, workplace-based assessments assess actual practice and include direct observation of authentic practice in the workplace. A range of workplace-based assessments exist currently. Many are common across specialties and professions, for example case-based discussions, whereas others, like the consultation observation tool, are specific to specialties, in this case general practice. Others, like multi-source feedback, are also used in several professions beyond healthcare. In general, workplace-based assessments are useful as formative assessment and have a high reliability and validity. Faculty development is critical to ensure quality, effectiveness, and calibration to reduce inter-assessor variation. Although workplace-based assessments are used to assess performance, they are only useful if accompanied by provision of constructive feedback by the assessor to the trainee. Such feedback should be specific, provided in a timely manner, be consistent with the needs of the trainee, and focused on important aspects of performance. The term workplace-based assessments has been replaced by the term supervised learning events within the foundation program to ensure that these are used formatively for learning and not as a summative assessment. As the workplace-based assessment depends very much on the context in which it is carried out, assessors and trainees are encouraged to conduct this in a variety of contexts to develop competence across the board. Another method used to assess performance is the assessment of educational portfolios that contain documented evidence of achievement of learning outcomes within competency frameworks. Health professional views on portfolios range across the whole spectrum. In recent years, these have moved from paper-based portfolios to online portfolios or e-portfolios. A systematic review of portfolios for postgraduate assessment and education evaluated evidence from 10 countries, although most studies were from the UK and USA, and 7 healthcare professions such as medicine, nursing, allied health practitioners, dentists, pharmacy, etc. Although an extensive evidence base exists, there are very few high-quality studies with generalizable measures about the effectiveness of portfolios. Key points from the review are as follows. There is good evidence that if well implemented, portfolios are effective and practical in increasing personal responsibility for learning and supporting professional development. Electronic versions are better at encouraging reflection, and users voluntarily spend longer on them. Regular feedback from a mentor enhances success despite competing demands on users' time and occasional skepticism about the purpose of a portfolio. Reports of inter-rater reliability for summative assessments of portfolio data are varied, and there is benefit to be gained from triangulation with other assessment methods. There is insufficient evidence on how portfolios work in interdisciplinary settings. To make portfolios work in practice, here are some issues that need to be considered. For trainees, keep the portfolio up to date, keep proper documentation of evidence against competencies, use a range of evidence and a variety of workplace-based assessments. For supervisors, assess evidence thoroughly, assess from time to time rather than at the end of the year, calibrate your assessment against that of other trainers to reduce inter-assessor variation. Here are the key messages from this session. Using a combination of measures increases validity and reliability of the selection process. Workplace-based assessments assess actual practice and include direct observation of authentic practice in the workplace. Workplace-based assessments are useful as formative assessment and have a high reliability and validity. Portfolios can also be used to assess competence. Well-implemented portfolios are effective in increasing personal responsibility for learning and supporting professional development. Additional resources related to assessment of performance and providing feedback, facilitation of learning, identifying and supporting the struggling learner, as well as planning your own professional development as an educator, are available through the 4 MOOCs shown here. These MOOCs are available on the FutureLearn platform and are free of cost to the learner. There is a small cost for certificates. You might wish to explore these 4 MOOCs as part of your own professional development as an educator. If you have any questions or wish to discuss this topic further, please get in touch with me.